everyone, my name is Savannah. Welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build, and in today's video we are building a small home, a small colorful home to be exact. So this build is 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and it is, I think it ended up being 64 tiles. It's under the 100 tiles that you need it to be in order to be classified as a small home. So it does meet that requirement. I was aiming for smaller than that, but I just need to fit everything in, and I'm really bad at building really tiny things. Something that I need to work on and get better at, but I made it to a small home, so happy with that. This build, I was just going for color. I had an idea starting out that I was possibly going to make this a home for a grandmother, and my thought was it was going to be a fairly young grandmother. Maybe she had her daughter or son really young, and then her daughter or son had her children very young, or their children very young. So therefore the grandmother was not like an elderly grandmother, maybe just, you know, in her 40s, 50s, 60s, I don't know, something like that, a younger grandmother. But as I built, I have this really bad habit of starting out with a specific idea and then broadening it as I start to build. So I start to fall into the rut of just placing down things that I like the look of and forgetting to remember what the sim that lives in that house might actually like. So as I say, I was thinking of grandmother when I was doing like the outside of the house, and then when I get inside, I start to shift towards like young adult female, which is generally the direction that I tend to go, and I need to work on it. I need to get some more inspiration on different style builds, and really honestly, I just need to get into the game more and learn what objects are available. Like the debug menu is so large and so expansive that I tend to lean towards the objects that I know I can easily find. There's also something to be said about recording and feeling pressured to find the right object right away. And I think that's just going to take practice for me. Practice to relax a little bit and not worry about taking the time to look through the menus, because I can always edit it out, or, you know, I do speed it up 500-600 times from my normal play speed. So you really don't notice it watching the video when I take a long pause and search through the menu and things like that. So I need to try to remember that in my head, but it's a struggle that I've had even with my main channel and doing Planet Zoo type builds, just trying to rush through and get it right the first time. And I need to just take a break, take a step back. So this build was built in 3 different kind of sit down building sessions. I also find myself getting very bored is the wrong word, but like I get over building in like an hour or so, and I have to take a break and come back to it. Not because I don't like what I'm building, I just don't sit still for that long. So I have to take a break and come back, you know, maybe with a snack or a drink. I mean, I constantly have a drink here at my desk when I am working on any sort of video game or just playing casually. I'm sure I'm not the only one that kind of has to have a snack. It's one of my bad traits, actually, because snacks that I tend to gravitate towards are not the healthiest snack, and I need to remember to grab, like, you know, a vegetable once in a while instead of like popcorn or candy or cookies or crackers or stuff like that. I have a massive sweet tooth, and so I'm always wanting something sweet and something carby, some sort of bread or something like that. I can't be alone. Please let me know if I'm not alone down in the comments. You'll make me feel a whole lot better about myself and my really bad snacking habits if there's at least one person that's also the same when they're gaming and they just want something sweet and bad for them. So yeah, that's enough about me and my snacking habits. Back to the build. I was working on the shape of this build for just a little while, and I originally, like I said, was going for something very, very small. So I started off with just a plain old triangle, but then it just looked a little bit flat, without too much dimension and a little bit boring. So I ended up adding that kind of just pop out on the right-hand side there. That ends up being the bathroom on that side of the build, but just adding that little pop out with a roof that goes in the opposite direction instead of front to back, left to right. It just adds a little bit more dimension to the build and just a little bit more interest when you're looking at it. I'm also just thinking about from a screenshot perspective, because obviously I am building these things for fun, but also to put on YouTube so that you guys can see, and thumbnail is a really big important factor in that. So just thinking about looking at it from that right-hand side to give something a little bit more interesting on the side of the house rather than it just being a flat wall. You did see a cut there in the footage because, as always, the floor plan is something that I struggle with, and I almost never get it first try. This one was a little bit easier for me for whatever reason. It just kind of came together. I also have to get the idea out of my head that every build has to have a double bed. I myself have not owned a twin bed for years and years and years. I got my first full-size bed when I was in high school. So for me, I just think about a twin bed being way too small. But I know that's not necessarily realistic. I know there's probably many of you that still sleep on a twin bed if you are a single human or living at home or with your parents or whatever. So I have to get the idea that like adults can still sleep in twin beds. And again, nothing wrong with it. It's just I haven't slept in a twin bed in years, and so it's not something that occurs to me. So that being said, this bedroom is very, very small, and I end up getting rid of that little diagonal cut that you can see there. I was trying to give a little bit more walking space in the living area, but a twin bed, unfortunately, just I couldn't get it to fit and look nice without like poking through the outside of the wall or anything like that. So I end up squaring that off again, and the twin bed fits right on that wall, the wall that's shared between it and the living room. But overall, I was actually really happy with how much I could actually fit inside this build. There's a couch, there's a TV, there's even a little dining table with one chair. There is a counter for Sims to make their food on. They obviously have a fridge, a stove, and a sink, which, by the way, are always some of the hardest objects for me to pick. I tend to kind of pick a pack and pick the sink, the stove, and the fridge that kind of all go together. And I'm trying to get out of that habit and kind of mix and match things. I was looking at a reference picture here to kind of get an idea of colors because I really wanted the kitchen to be the kind of focal point of colorfulness in this house. So the living area and the kitchen is where a lot of the color is. The bedroom ends up being really bright pink, and then the bathroom is kind of like a muted pink color. I probably could have put a little bit more time and effort into the bathroom, but I really, for this build in specific, I wasn't really feeling the bathroom all too much, so I just kind of threw the necessities in there and called it a day. So really the majority of my effort was spent on the living area and the kitchen, and then a little bit in the bedroom. But I end up using those cabinets that are from Dream Home Decorator in yellow. I tried to pick the brightest color. I was so close to using like the bright pink color cabinets as well, like the coral colored cabinets, but I just felt like the yellow kind of meshed with a bunch of other colors easier, so I ended up going with those. I do end up changing the wallpaper as well. You can see here I'm kind of going through a whole bunch of swatches just to see what looks good and what doesn't. I do end up using that strawberry wallpaper in the bedroom though, and that's kind of where the inspiration of making everything pink came from. And then I'm switching here to the, I totally forgot. I don't end up using the Dream Home Decorator cabinets. I end up using these ones here from Cottage Living. I think these are the ones. Yeah, these are the Cottage Living ones. The other ones are the kit, the Country Kitchen kit. But these are the Cottage Living ones, I think. I may have that backwards. But I end up using these instead. They still have a yellow swatch, but what I liked about these ones is, one, they don't have like an automatic backsplash that goes up onto the wall that then gets skipped with the type of stove that I use. And then they also have a more like butcher block wood tone countertop to them. And again, I just thought that it helped me mesh a lot of the colors together better. I also love the Cottage Living cabinets on the wall. They come with so many little details. I mean, look at the little butter jar and the little plant and plate. that are on those shelves that just automatically get placed there. I end up placing a range hood over the top of the stove anyway, so there's those little cups and things get hidden. But the little detail on that end cabinet, I can't pass it up. It's great. Here trying to figure out just the layout of everything to make sure that I have space for it all. I do end up moving the little dining table over next to the fridge, because here's where I am trying to fit in the twin bed and it just doesn't work. I can't make it work. So I end up squaring off that corner and moving the little table over here. And then of course also placing a window over there as well, just to kind of let in some light. With how small of a build it is, I wanted to make sure that there was room for lots of natural light inside the house. And you will of course also see me jump all over the place, as is what my normal MO is when I'm building in The Sims, is I generally try to place like the big furniture first, so I get an idea of the relative layout and the style that I want to use, and then I go back and really try to take my time to kind of clutter. Now this one I tried to not over clutter. I tried to just place like a reasonable amount of clutter. I don't really know if there is such a thing as a reasonable amount of clutter, but I tried. But here I am working on making like a little closet for the bedroom so that the Sim has somewhere to put her clothes. With it being so colorful and the type of stuff that I placed in this house, I do imagine that this Sim, however old or whatever kind of Sim it is a female. And likes bright colors and fun things. Obviously, I kind of strayed away from my elderly young grandmother kind of feel. But yeah, I really like how the colors come out. It really took me a step away from what my normal is. I normally tend to build in very muted, natural tones with lots of plants. And this house definitely has its plants, but I tried to keep the plants to a minimum and use other objects for decoration. I also tried to use a lot of things from the recent Growing Together pack. So you might notice like the curtains that I'm using are the ones with like the little fuzzy pom-poms on them with bright colors. And I actually like those a little bit more than I thought I would. The tile in the bathroom is, I think that one is Discover University, or no, it was the one that gave us like the, modern, what's that style called? Oh my goodness, I'm totally drawing a blank. It's not from it's not from University. It's from one of the newer packs. Oh, I'm not going to be able to think of it. If you know, let me know down in the comments because I cannot remember the name of that pack. But then obviously using the tile on the wall that came with the most recent Growing Together pack, because I absolutely love how that tile looks. And I feel like I'm going to use it in almost everything, regardless if it actually fits the style or not, because it's such a pretty like chevron subway tile type tile. And I love that we have both a floor and a wall pattern for it. I end up using that same tiling over in the kitchen as like a kitchen backsplash as well. And I just love the look of it. We also got so many fun colors with that too, that it's really easy for me to kind of work it in and make it fit in this house in particular. And then utilizing some of those things that came with like the cluttered kit and that was it, right? Everyday clutter kit. And there's so many packs and so many kits. Forgive me if I forget what the heck their names are, because I feel like they come out like every other week. So trying to keep up, trying to memorize the names, but it is still a work in progress. But using those little light switches, I think stuff like that just adds such a little realistic touch to whatever you're building. You know, if you think about it, like almost every house has light switches like that. So just a little something to put on the wall to give a little bit more realism and detail. I absolutely love it. So I tried my best to go through the house and put light switches in every single room where they would make sense. I think I also end up putting a additional one in the kitchen under the cabinets, as maybe that is I put it a little bit far away from the sink for it to be the garbage disposal, but maybe it's like under the cabinet lights or the fan for the oven, or I don't know, something. There's a switch in the kitchen and I just put it there because that way it adds a little bit of detail on the wall. I'm changing up the wallpaper just a little bit because I really wasn't happy with the what is that called? Like plaid pattern, the checkerboard pattern on the wall. And I really wanted to do something different behind the counters in the kitchen. So this is where I've picked the same tile that was in the bathroom. And I tried to pick a blue color just to kind of complement the curtains that we have on the wall and the little bit of blue details that we have everywhere else in the house. And I think it turned out really well. Now we are moving on to the cluttering portion. As I mentioned, I like to go back and do my cluttering last. So starting with the kitchen, because it's one of my favorite rooms to clutter, probably because there's so many clutter items. Although now with the new bathroom clutter kit, there's quite a lot of stuff for the bathroom as well. So I should probably start paying more attention to the bathrooms in the houses that I build. But yeah, starting off with the kitchen and just adding some of the necessities. My sim loves tea, so putting a couple mugs and a tea rack on the counter, as well as a little teapot on the stove. Loved that little detail. Little fruit dish in the corner just to add some color. And yeah, so we're going to finish up the kitchen and then move on to clutter everywhere else. There's not too much space in this house to clutter, so it went relatively quickly. I did also upload this to the gallery, as I do with everything that I build. So if you see something on the channel that you really like, it will be on my gallery. My ID is YTSimplySimming, just the name of the channel with YT for YouTube in front of it. Somebody had already taken Simply Simming YT, so I had to switch it and flip it around. But you can find everything that I build on there. I will say, however, I don't tend to play test things, so I apologize if you do load into them and you have to move some stuff around. I try my best to build with gameplay in mind, but because I'm somebody that doesn't really play any gameplay, I just like to build pretty things. I tend to forget that Sims might actually want to use the things that I build. So I apologize if it's a bit tight or if you have to move some things around. I do also get asked quite often what that red shelf is that I'm using. That is a mod that I have downloaded, and it is just allowing me to kind of better place objects on the right level. I tend to resize things like tables or things like console tables and things like that you place objects on, but also any object that has like a snap point to it, and I don't necessarily want my object to be on that snap point. I can use the shelf to raise it to the correct level and then move the object out of the way and get my little decorative piece right exactly where I want it to be. So it's just something that helps. It's one of the only 2 mods that I use. Another mod that I use is just the build by camera mod, and that way I can take pictures when I'm in build and buy mode. But other than that, currently I don't play with any CC or custom content mods. Somebody else asked me what the no CC on my video titles means, and that just means that I play with official Sims stuff that's in the game. Not that I am against CC. I've actually thought about downloading some of it and doing some CC builds, because some of the custom content creators are making absolutely gorgeous things, and I think I would really enjoy playing with some of the things that they're creating. I just kind of haven't pulled the trigger yet and decided to actually do it. Let me take a minute here as we're kind of finishing up the cluttering and the build. The living room took me quite a while to figure out what the heck I wanted to put on that wall. But if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you hanging out with me, and I hope that you enjoy the videos and my builds. And if you do, leave a like. It really does help me out more than you know. And if you're enjoying the video and want to see more, you can always hit the subscribe button, and that way you don't miss out on any future content. I will say Simply Simming is my second channel and does kind of sort of take a back seat at certain times to my main channel, but I am trying my very hardest to maybe get to an every other week upload or even an every week upload. It just depends on when I get the inspiration or honestly the time to sit down and play The Sims. I do work full time, so I work 40 plus hours every single week at a real job. Not that YouTube isn't a real job, it's just a hobby for me. But I'm doing my very best, I promise. I really am enjoying The Sims. I also saw a post that they are releasing a few kits over the summer. I feel like the Sims team has a tendency to do that and release packs over the summer. So it sounds like we're going to be getting a lot of new objects and build by things. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, so basically my whole point is that if you're enjoying the video, leaving a like and a comment and interacting with the video is just super, super helpful. You can also follow me on any of my other social media pages. I do have specific Twitters and Instagrams for this channel in specific that are separate from my main channel. But we also have a shared Discord. So if you're looking for Sims inspiration or just want to share what you're building or what you're up to, you can join over there and interact with some of the community members that are already in our Discord. I'm thinking of doing a shell challenge very, very soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if I can get around to kind of planning that. And of course, if we have enough interest, I will kind of put that together and I'll feel around for what the interest might be like in our Discord. So if you're interested in something like that, definitely head on over there and stick around, and that way you don't miss out when if I eventually decide to do something like that. We are almost done with the build. I totally forgot. I went back outside and I ended up adding just a few more little details, including trash cans on the outside of the build, over there on that little part of the house that sticks out. And then a little bit more foliage and, or landscaping, I should say. I'm not building a zoo. I'm building a house. It's landscaping. And then adding some of those little rocks. Those are debug base game little stepping stones that I absolutely love to use. So I make a little path around the corner and then just doing some landscape painting to do a little bit more details on there. And I love the way the landscaping turned out. It's very much like kind of like an overgrown but planned out type landscaping. It's my go-to. It's generally what I like to do, adding a few little rocks in there and things like that. And yeah, we're basically done. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love that you hang out with me and enjoy the videos, and I'm gonna get working on the next one. I don't really know what I'm gonna build just yet, but I will figure it out, and I'm going to work on narrowing down the style and really kind of fleshing out an idea and trying my very best to stick to it. So if you have any wonderful ideas on things that I could build or types of Sims that I could build for, I would love to hear those ideas down in the comment section. But until next time, thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye!